sees enigmas, building up the people, tearing down stigmas, clothed with a purpose. When life tries to wear on me, pray and read the word, but I still go to therapy. No matter your past or what you've been through, this is a space, not judgmental. We got some things to get into. I got my mind in on my meds. No matter your past or what you've been through, this is a space, not judgmental. We got some things to get into. I got my mind in on my mental. Mind in my mental. Mind in my mental. Mind in my mental health. Mind in my mental. Mind in my mental. Mind in my mental health.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Minding My Mental Health. I am Tenitria Williams, and today we are talking about joy. Joy. Go ahead. If you are joining me today, you know what I want you to do. I want you to hashtag live. Let me know where you are watching from. And if you are, if you're watching the replay, sorry about that. If you're watching the replay, if you hashtag replay, again, let me know where you're watching from. If you are watching from YouTube, you can put watching from YouTube. I'm trying to get, so if you're watching from Facebook and you have YouTube, feel free to go over to YouTube, jump over to watch, because I want to get more people watching from that platform. Again, I appreciate everybody for joining. We're going to give people just a few moments to come on in. Hashtag let me know where you're watching from. Share this video to your story, to your page, tag your friends, tag your family. This topic hope is not going to be heavy today. I want us to share some laughs, some smiles, but also to understand the importance of joy and laughter in our life. We often talk about mental health, and I think this is a huge part of the healing journey, or just about the wellness journey, that often gets overlooked. We don't realize the power of joy. So that's today's topic, the power of joy. So minding my mental health, the power of joy. If you'll just put that in the comments, the power of joy. I would appreciate that. Again, we're talking about that. I'm going to share this broadcast and tag a couple people as we are getting ready to do this. There we go. I'm going to give people a few more minutes to jump on. Then we're going to go ahead and get started, right? Because we don't have to be here all day to be effective. And if someone comes in late, they can always go back and catch the replay. So again, my name is Tenitria Williams. If you are in Arkansas looking for a counselor, or if you are outside of the state of Arkansas or Georgia, which I am licensed in, and you need a coach, let me know. I would be happy to help you walk through whatever's going on. I'm a licensed professional counselor and a mindset and dating coach. And so again, I would love to help you walk through some of those things that life may throw at you. But I don't want to keep prolonging and belaboring the point. I want to get into our topic for today. So then we're talking about joy. Did you know that on average, adults typically range from laughing about 15 to 20 times a day? So about 15 to 20 times a day. But there are some studies that show it's actually different. It's about 17 times a day, but the range is a little higher. So it goes up to about 100 times a day. So I'm not really sure which exactly one we'd go with, but even if we went with the highest number for the adults, it would be 100. In contrast to children, who typically laugh as much as 300 to 500 times a day. So think about that. Adults are probably not laughing 100 times a day. But even if we took that as the highest number with 100, kids are laughing about 300 to 500 times a day. And so, what does that say? Now, most of us would probably say, well, sure, it's easy to laugh and to play and to be silly when you're a child because you don't have those heavy responsibilities, right? Well, guess what? It's not just about responsibilities, though that is a huge part of it. Children laugh more because the world seems lighter. They don't have to think about bills and who's going to take care of all those things. Typically, we know that there are cases where children do have a lot of stress, but we're talking kind of on average. But as adults, has to be more intentional. Joy has to be more intentional as adults because we're juggling duties, deadlines, responsibilities. And as adults, we have to, again, be more intentional. That doesn't mean that the need for joy disappears as we are younger. So think about kids are laughing more, adults are laughing less. But the need doesn't change. You need to be laughing as much or need to have that same level of joy as you always did. So, what's going on? What's happening that we aren't doing that? Kids give themselves permission. And I think sometimes as adults, we have to remember that we have to give ourselves permission to laugh, to not take life so seriously, not to, get bogged down so much to the point that we forget how to enjoy living and how to walk outside and get excited about what some people may consider the small things. Usually in the morning times, I'll let the garage up, and all of us, me and my two girls, will look outside and we look at the sky. What kind of sky do we have? And so many mornings we'll look out and we're just in awe of how beautiful the sky is. It may be different colors or the clouds are in such a way that just makes us kind of pause for a minute. And so these are small moments where you can find joy in something that seems to be very small and insignificant. These are small moments where you can find joy. So give yourself permission to find joy. So today I want to unpack what joy really is, how it differs from happiness, and why cultivating it can change the way our brains, our bodies, and our relationships function. So, again, we see that joy is super important. Today, we're going to talk about or learn our objectives from today's broadcast is define joy. We're going to define joy from a psychological and physiological standpoint. We're also going to understand how joy impacts mental health, which is, of course, our main topic, and explore practical ways to activate joy in your life every day, even in hard seasons. So, the first thing is, what is joy? What is joy? Joy is an emotional response. I'm sorry, happiness is an emotional response to an external circumstance. So you won a free trip from your company, you would be happy about that. If you went to the store and got a discount on something that you needed and you didn't want to spend as much money, you would be happy about that, right? So that's what happiness is. Joy, on the other hand, it says is a sustained internal state rooted in meaning, gratitude, and connection. Keep this in mind. Happiness is based on external circumstances. Joy says it's a sustained internal state. So joy is something that you can have even when the the happy things aren't necessarily happening. Joy is different from happiness. However, you can have them simultaneously. Okay. So happiness is based on the things happening, the things that give you excitement and feel good. Joy, however, is something that is sustained and it's rooted in, here are these three: meaning, so having a sense of meaning in life; gratitude, huge, and connection. These are three things that help us to be rooted in joy or to maintain joy. Joy does not mean the absence of pain. If you'll put that in the comments, I think that's important. Joy does not mean there is no pain. Joy does not mean that everything is perfect. Joy doesn't mean that you've gotten everything the way you wanted, when you wanted it, and how you wanted it. Joy means it's the presence of purpose. It's the presence for believers that's actually a fruit of the Spirit. Joy is the fruit of the Spirit, and it is trusting and knowing that you have God with you all the time, no matter what, and that you are safe in his presence, right? So let's look at it from a clinical perspective for a minute. Neuroscience tells us that joy activates the brain reward and bonding center. Now, this is powerful stuff, I think. And again, I think this is something that's often overlooked, particularly the parts of the brain that regulate motivation, empathy, and hope. If you have joy, you this joy activates that part of the brain that regulates the motivation, the empathy, and hope. So joy is important, and we talk about that from a scientific perspective, that it's actually impacting our brain. We know that our emotions, our thoughts, all of those things impact our brain. Well, joy is the same way. Joy is also closely tied. If you've watched, I think it was last week, we talked about nutrition and our mental health. If you didn't watch that, I really do. I encourage you to go to YouTube, find my channel, which is at Tenitria. Find that channel and watch that episode between mental health and our nutrition. And I talked about serotonin and dopamine quite a bit in that episode. But joy is closely tied to oxytocin, which is what they call the love drug or the love hormone. Makes you feel connected to people, makes you feel good. But serotonin and dopamine, those things are connected to motivation. They're kind of are connected to our sense of happiness and joy, excitement, and all of these things, right? So these are feel good transmitters that promote calm, connection, and contentment. So why is joy so important? It helps us to have a calmer mindset, mental health. We're in a calmer space. We have more contentment when we are in that place. You guys know I am heavily influenced by CBT, which is cognitive behavioral therapy, which basically is some words for saying I want to look at your thinking and your behavior. This framework heavily influences the way that I do counseling, right? And in CB terms, joy can be viewed as a cognitive orientation. Now, I think this is powerful. Joy is a cognitive orientation. What does that mean? It's a trained focus on what's good, meaningful, and life-giving rather than what is lacking. This is good news, in my opinion, because you can train your mind to be joy focused. You can train your mind to look for the areas where you can be grateful. You can train your mind not to always look for the negative. And again, you have to be able to practice that. And so I would tell you, practice giving yourself permission to look for the positive, to find the joy in the moment. This was, I think, yesterday. Both of my girls woke up with a grumpy attitude, and they literally came to the table with scowls on their face. And once they got there, they had their arms folded and they were just looking all mean. The reason they just weren't ready to get up, right? And just at that moment, I was about to get frustrated because of their attitude. And I looked at them, and both of them were looking so angry. And I just looked and I thought, these girls are tripping. And I just started laughing at them. I was like, y'all came in here with some really mean scowls on your face. And I just started laughing, and I totally shifted from I have to pull them out of it. They looked at me and they actually kind of got tickled and realized how dramatic their facial expressions were being at that time. And they started eating their breakfast, and the mood shifted. And so again, what are we saying? We're saying you have to train yourself not to get pulled into what all is going wrong. You have to say, what can I look for? Or how can I look for the positive? How can I look for things to be grateful for? I'm not talking about some toxic positivity where you deny negative things happen in the earth and everything's just rainbows and you just have to believe, believe, believe. I'm talking about being able to say, in this moment, is there something that I can find joy in this moment? So if it's hot outside, how can I find the joy? If it's cold, how can I find the joy in these moments, right? It doesn't mean we are pretending that bad things don't exist and that life is all sunshine and roses, but we're saying we don't have to always look at the negative all the time. Does that make sense? Give me some feedback. Y'all are quiet. Let me hear what y'all are thinking out there. Okay. So when was the last time you genuinely felt joy? Not because things were perfect, but because you noticed something beautiful in the midst of chaos. I tell people all the time, if you are around me in fall, if I go outside of the house and I'm driving, it's not going to be long before I start talking about how beautiful the trees are. This is one of those things where I absolutely love the beauty of fall and seeing those trees and seeing the colors. I see it every year. This is not nothing new, but it's like fresh eyes every single time. Looking at a beautiful sky, looking at the sunrise or the sunset, getting sunshine, all of these things that are seemingly very simple can bring great joy, right? So, joy and mental health. That's what we're talking about today. How do we allow joy to help us in our quest for walking in mental wellness? Number one, we have to recognize that joy actually helps our physical bodies, right? Joy lowers our cortisol, which is the stress hormone. Joy actually lowers that. If you're ever in a situation where you're just down in the dumps, it actually helps if you start to think about um, those things, your meaning, your purpose, your relationship with God, and even finding something joyful or funny to look at. Laughter, the Bible talks about laughter being a medicine. And it's absolutely true. You can be feeling a certain way. And if you get a good laugh, I'm not talking about a chuckle, but if you get you a really good laugh, it can absolutely change your mind. It can change your mood. It can shift the mood. It releases different hormones in your body. So, again, joy lowers the cortisol in our bodies, which is the body's main stress hormone. It also activates the parasympathetic nervous system, which is the nervous system that helps keeps us calm and relaxed. So this starts to signal that we are safe. When we are walking in laughter, in happiness, and in joy, our body starts to say, hey, we're safe. We've talked about this in the past about our amygdala being hyper alert and anxious because it's looking for danger. Joy begins to say it's okay to calm down. So joy sends a signal to our brain that it's okay for us to calm down. When practiced regularly, joy experiences create neural resilience, our ability to bounce back from adversity. How powerful is that? So now notice I said the word practice. For some people, you actually have to practice joy because your brain has been so trained to look for the negative or to focus on the thing that's not going the way you want it to go that you may miss out on. Maybe you don't even see some of the positive things. So I would encourage you to train yourself to be um, a joy minded person, to look for ways to find the joy in your day. And I know in it, if people think joy may be more based on personality, like, oh, they're just a joyful person. No, it is more of a mindset. You can be a calm person and still have joy. It's not about excitement. It's not about jumping around. It's about your mindset that says, what am I focusing on? What am I rooted and grounded in? Remember, we talked about that joy is about being rooted in meaning, right? And purpose and contentment and gratitude. You can be that person regardless of your personality. So don't let someone tell you that you don't have the personality to operate with joy and happiness, because you absolutely do, because it's not based on personality. Okay. Studies show that joy focused gratitude practices increase the serotonin activity, supporting recovery from depression. Okay. So again, I know that people may say gratitude because if you've ever listened to interviews from a lot of comedians, many of them will tell you that they have or do struggle with depression. So it's not just laughter or being able to laugh, um, but it's being able to be rooted in the meaning of gratitude and being able to say, yes, I can laugh, but I also am connected to a purpose, right? And contentment. And again, for the believer, it's knowing that God is with you through it all and that He's got your back. People who engage in joy centered activities report improved sleep, energy, and emotional regulation. Okay. So, how many of you would say that you feel like you are a joyful person? If you feel like you're a joyful person, put a one in the comment. If you feel like overall, I'm a pretty happy, positive kind of person, put a one in the comment if you feel like you're a pretty joyful person. So now I do want to talk about how joy impacts us recovering from any type of trauma. Okay. Joy helps us to regulate our vagal nerve. Again, we've talked about, yes, joy is powerful, Demetria. Joy helps us to regulate our vagal nerve, signaling to our body that it's safe to connect again. Again, I think this is one of those things that people downplay a lot. They don't understand the power of joy. After trauma, joy can feel almost dangerous because they don't want to get their hopes up. Safety starts to feel foreign, but intentionally engaging in joy retrains the nervous system to tolerate goodness. I am going to read that again because I think it's a powerful statement. Actually, I want you guys to put this as your status during or after this broadcast or this broadcast. I want you to say intentionally engaging in joy retrains your nervous system to tolerate goodness. Intentionally engaging in joy retrains your nervous system to tolerate goodness. Is that not powerful? Now, why is that so powerful? Because people who have struggled with or dealt with trauma or all of those types of things, their nervous system says it's not safe to let our guard down to laugh. Their nervous system is not only on high alert, sometimes it's kind of everywhere. If you've gone through a lot of things, right? So for many people who've experienced trauma, they struggle with feeling happiness and joy because they're nervous that any moment that's going to change. And so again, their body is so prone to looking for and being prepared. They're almost in a stance of bracing themselves for the bad things. So they're like, yeah, something's good happening now, but I know something bad is going to happen, right? They have that mindset. And so practicing joy is a way to stop or shift that mindset from something bad's going to happen to it is perfectly safe for me to enjoy the joy in this moment. Okay. I can enjoy the joy in this moment. The body gets used to chaos and it doesn't trust calm yet, but learning to let joy in is a part of healing. Learning to let joy in is a part of healing. Okay. Do we have any questions as we're going through this? I want to talk about now the psychology of joy, meaning, contentment, and mindset. So the first thing we're talking about is meaning. I don't know if any of you have ever heard of Viktor Frankl. If you are in the psychology space, you probably have heard that name several times. He was a Holocaust survivor and psychiatrist, and he wrote that those who have a why to live can bear almost any how. Okay, I'm going to read that again. Those who have a why to live can bear almost any how. What does that mean? First of all, if you hear him, hearing how he was able to shift his mindset in the most dire of circumstances, going again, surviving the Holocaust, we already know such a devastating time in his life, right? That had to be extremely stressful, high pressure. You're seeing people die. You know your life could end at any moment. People that you love and all of these things. People are talking about hatred and all of that. He says, for those who have a why, you can bear almost any how. How am I going to make this? How is this going to happen? I don't know the how, but I know why I'm going to hang on. And so I think that speaks to the power of joy, because we go back and we talk about joy being rooted in gratitude, rooted in purpose and meaning. Okay. What about the joy and connection? Joy thrives in relationships. Laughter, play, and shared experiences releases oxytocin. So many times when you're dealing with trauma or just drama, your brain starts telling you need to isolate. You don't want to be hurt again. You don't want to deal with that again. And so you start to isolate. And maybe it's just depression over time has made you, retreat. I want to encourage you, come out of that room, open those blinds, get with some people that are healthy. And by healthy, I don't mean just physically, I mean healthy emotionally, and connect, build those relationships, connect in the moment. I did not realize just how powerful, touch and hugs were all of my life. I grew up in a pretty affectionate family, so I just kind of took it for granted. But then as you grow up, you go, oh, people need this all the time, and you don't always recognize how important it is. So joy and connection are important because joy begins to grow and thrive in relationships. Okay. Now, for someone who says, I'm not in a relationship, I'm single, it doesn't have to be a romantic relationship. It can be just a healthy relationship, a coworker. You can share laughs. And the thing is, research is showing that we are actually going through a loneliness epidemic. So many people feel lonely. So many people are disconnected from their neighbors. We in today's society, people don't actually get to know their neighbors. When you go out to a restaurant, if you'll take a moment and look around, most people are actually engaged with their phones and not the people that they're actually out to dinner with. And so what has happened is emotionally, a lot of us have been very isolated, even when we are around other people. And so it's important that we go, wait a minute, I need connection to activate that joy that's already there. Now, you can have joy being alone. I'm not saying you can't. I'm saying it helps it to grow and to thrive. Loneliness, by contrast, increases. Being alone and lonely are different. I also want to make that distinction. You can be with people and be lonely, and you can be alone and not be lonely. Loneliness is a sense of, I don't have anyone. I'm by myself, right? Being alone is just, I don't have anyone around me, but I am content, I am happy, and I know I do have a support system around me. Loneliness, by contrast, increases inflammation and weakens our immune system, and it weakens our emotional regulation. Loneliness is that sense of, I don't have anyone. Okay. So in cognitive behavior, we teach clients to challenge those negative thought patterns. Joy expands our mental frame, it widens our capacity to see possibility even in pain. I am going to read that again. Joy widens our capacity to see the possibility even in pain. What does that mean? You're able to go, I may not like where I am right now, but I see a greater capacity, which is really what Viktor Frankl was able to do in during the Holocaust. He was able to widen his capacity to see the possibility of life beyond that concentration camp, beyond the oppression and the harm that was happening to him. He was able to see beyond that. And if you have the ability to see beyond that, this is why, even with people with faith, this is why it's so powerful, because they could see beyond it. For many people, they talk about people who were enslaved in here in America, and they would often talk about heaven and those types of things. Why? Because in their minds, they said, I have to see beyond it. They couldn't necessarily see freedom in the natural sometimes, but they could say, hey, once I'm gone from this world, I will be with God in heaven. And so being able to see beyond the current state. Now, here's the thing. You don't have to wait to have better in your life. You can begin to do things to increase and experience more joy in your life. Okay. So think of one joyful memory that still makes you smile. What thoughts, people, or sensations come up when you revisit that moment? Okay. What are some things? And I'm going to share a story. Now, it's not like you're not going to probably roll over laughing, but I do remember this story. And when I think about this story, I always chuckle and I always laugh. Okay. So I was in high school. I had to be a senior that year, but if I wasn't a senior, I may have been a junior or a senior. I think I was a senior that year. So I had this hairstyle that I pictured in my mind, and I was going to make it happen. So I rolled the top of my hair and I wrapped the edges around. And so this part was curly and this part was straighter. And I woke up that morning. So the way I saw it in my head, it was really cute. I got up that morning, I did my hair, and my hair actually looked the way I want, the way I wanted it to look. So I go to school and I'm genuinely thinking that my hair is cute. Genuinely thinking my hair is cute. Okay. I get in there and my cousin sees me. She's the first person that says something to me that morning when I walk into the cafeteria. And she says, man, cuz we didn't even care today, huh? I'm like, that's not really the reaction I was looking for with my look today, right? But I kind of let it go. Don't say much. Go on. Someone else sees me in the hallway and he goes, that's what I'm talking about, Tanitria. That's what I'm talking about. We don't even give a F today. And I'm going, whoa, 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 whoa. It's the second person that saw me and assumed I gave up on trying to look nice today. Clearly, clearly my hair was not giving what I thought my hair was giving. And I went to that bathroom so fast to try to do something different. I think I had found a ponytail holder and I pulled it all back in a ponytail. And in fact, when my cousin saw me later, she said, I think I'm gonna go in here and do my hair. Meant something, she said, to indicate that she was gonna kind of join me on this I don't care kind of crusade that she thought I was on. In reality, I thought my hair was cute, y'all. And so that's one of those moments when I look back and think, I thought I was cute and the feedback did not match. And I get so tickled because I never told them that I wasn't going for the I don't care look once I realized clearly I looked like I clearly I looked like I did not care at all. But in my mind, I went to school thinking my hair was cute. I got there and again, they didn't even try to make fun of me. They really thought I just didn't care that day, but I did. So those are what's your story that you can look back and you can just laugh when you hear the story. Now I've got tons of stories that I probably could cry when I'm sharing. But a lot of those things are you had to be there kind of moments, right? But a lot of this stuff when we stop and we pause and we think about what what are some stories in our life that we can share, or even in your daily life, are you taking yourself in life so seriously that you stop that? Like, I could have gotten angry with them, or I could have just laughed like I end up doing. I went in there and pulled my hair back and I laughed and was like, yeah, we're not trying this hairstyle again, right? So you have to learn how to say, I don't have to take life or even myself. I can laugh at myself if I make a mistake. I don't have to get defensive. I can admit things and apologize and not take things quite so seriously and operate in that joy and that happiness a lot easier. And it helps our mindset, it helps our mentality a lot. So, how do we cultivate joy on a daily basis? We talked about you have to practice joy. Joy is a practice, it's not a personality trait. I said that earlier. Joy isn't something you're born with, it's something that you build, it's something that you operate in. From again a place of gratitude. So here's some things that according to evidence and science shows us that we can practice or that will help us practice living a joy-based life. Number one, you should already know what I'm going to say. I'm going to say it anyways. Gratitude, okay? Gratitude journaling. Write down 3 moments of joy every day. So at the end of your day, before you go to bed, maybe identifying or writing down 3 things that brought you joy that day, even if they were small. um, I I have a program or a group on social media called Celebrating You, and I used to post every day. I would post affirmation that morning, but that evening I would post, "What's your win for today?" Why would I do that? Because it is helping to activate the part of the people's brain that makes them stop and reflect. What went well today? What do I have to celebrate today? What was a good thing? What am I doing? We're tapping into gratitude because gratitude helps to elevate our mindset. So, writing down small things, even if it's like my husband makes fun of me, but I will come home from dropping the girls off and I'll go, it was a smooth ride to school. That means a lot to me. Or the kids woke up with good attitude. That means a lot to me. They went to bed with great attitudes. That means a lot to me. These are small things, right? They seem small, but those are things that mean a lot to me. Or just being able to play a game or accomplish a task. All of those things help to rewire our brain towards appreciation. And that starts to help our brain to relax and not to feel so anxious. So we can also move our bodies in ways that feel good. For example, dancing. I am not a good dancer in the sense of like I have a lot of rhythm and I can learn the moves and look cool doing it, but I am a dancer, meaning if you play music that I like and I want to dance to, I don't necessarily care how you think I look because I'm going out there and I'm going to have a good time, right? That feels good to me. Just enjoying taking in the beat, taking in the moment of movement. These are ways that you can release embody joy. Walking outdoors, stretching, all of these things start to signal safety for your body. So if you are in a place right now where you can move, get up and start to move, start to sway, start to do things that just give your body those that adrenaline and those endorphins, those chemicals in our bodies that help us to feel better. Okay. Also, play and creativity. As adults, I think we forget that we too are allowed to play. Go ahead and put that in the comments. I'm allowed to play. We think play is reserved for children only. However, if you think about it, um, children give themselves permission to play, whereas adults, we think we're too old for that. But you're not too old to play. So I would encourage you to look and say, how can I play and do some things that are actually fun? Now, your play may look differently than it used to, um, when you were a child, but you give yourself permission to play. So maybe you grab the Uno cards and get somebody and like, hey, let's get in here and play Uno. That's playing. Get in there and like I said, you may dance tonight. You may put on some music, whatever era of music you love, genre of music you love, all of that, blast it and get in there and dance like you're having a party. These are things that we allow ourselves to play, to have fun, to laugh. It doesn't matter. It's not about how you look. It's about how it releases things in your body to help you to feel better. Um, so again, adult play reduces anxiety and strengthens problem solving. When you do that, you allow your brain the freedom to start saying, okay, creativity can start to flow more. Okay. The other way that we can practice joy is relational joy. Schedule some time to connect with people, not just scrolling, but face to face, connecting with people face to face. Doesn't always have to be in person. We have technology. You can call your best friend. She may be in another state or country, but you can still connect with people, right? And so building those relationships and again, allowing yourself time to go in and play and relax and breathe. You'd be amazed if you took 15 to 20 minutes a day to allow yourself to laugh, to allow yourself to have fun. Most of the time we go, I don't have time for that. I don't have time for that. And we do that day in and day out and day in and day out. And pretty soon we're feeling stuck and drained. It's because we're not making time for those small things. And the truth of the matter is you probably spent at least 15 minutes scrolling on something that didn't bring you joy, may have even brought you some anxiety. So allow yourself to play, to have fun. Okay. The next thing is spiritual joy. Practices like prayer, worship, meditation, remembering and reminding yourself that God is with you, staying connected to that spiritual aspect is really important with joy. I teach children's church, and we've taught about joy. And one of the things we talked about with joy was scripture. It says Paul and Silas were in jail. They sang and they praised God. And one of the points that we were talking about through that is even though they were not in an ideal situation, they still trusted that they had God with them and that God was working it out for them. That is that spiritual joy that comes with, hey, I don't like the circumstances, but I trust that God is with me through the circumstances and he's going to stay with me. And I am going to trust that he has good plans for me. You don't have to wait for life to be easy to let joy in. Joy is what makes life bearable when we're going through those tough pains. So there is pain in the world, but allow joy to come in and help balance that out and to shift you and elevate your mindset. Okay. Joy does bring with it power. Joy doesn't deny pain, but it can defy it. What do I mean? You look at someone and going through a situation that you know is not positive, but they are still smiling or being grateful or operating with selflessness and being kind. Man, that's amazing. I saw a video on social media, and this guy was walking, and he was doing, I guess, like a social experiment, if you will. And he had this large sum of money, and he was dressed and acting as if he was homeless. And he walked up to another homeless person, and it was actually a woman and her son. And he asked them if they could help him with something. And she said, I can't help you with that, but I have this blanket. If you need a blanket, you can have that. And he said, no, I'm fine. She says, no, take it. We're fine. We'll be fine. We've got each other and all this different stuff. Well, he basically came back to her and said, hey, would you need some money for food? And I think he got her some food. And long story short, he ended up taking her to get her a house. And I think they got her a car and helped her find some jobs. It was her ability in the moment of, I'm struggling, but I'm willing to help other people and even try to encourage someone else in that moment. That internal joy for her came through, and it produced some great circumstances so she could have not only the joy but also the happiness as well. And we talked about the difference in those two. The power of joy, it helps our brain to stay flexible, to keep our body calm and our spirits vibrant. So joy helps our brain to stay flexible. It helps to keep our body calm and our spirit vibrant. When we choose joy, we teach our nervous system. Think about this. We teach our nervous system that goodness is not the enemy of survival. Because some people think if I get excited about something good, I'm going to let my guard down and I won't be prepared for something bad. So they feel like in order to survive, I have to stay on guard. But what joy practices does is it'll tell our nervous system it's okay for us to enjoy this moment. If something negative does happen, we can still be prepared for that without constantly looking for it, right? Okay. So I want you to say this out loud, and you can put this in the comments as well. Joy is my birthright. Say that. Joy is my birthright. I am safe to feel joy. In the midst of pain, I choose joy. In the midst of pain, I choose joy. So what I want you to do is to stop waiting for things to be perfect. I see this a lot. People are waiting for circumstances. Well, I'm going to be happy when I get my new house. I'm going to be happy when I finally get married. I'm going to be happy when this thing happens, right? You can have joy in the midst of, I don't have my house. I'm still in this apartment, or I'm still living with so and so. I look back at a time when I moved from Arkansas to Georgia, and I was actually for about 6 months. I lived with friends, and I look back at pictures. Those were for me difficult times, right? That was not fun having to live with someone, even though I appreciated it greatly. I was accustomed to having my own stuff, right? I was accustomed to having more flexibility, having more money, having more finances, having more resources and support, and all of that. I was grateful that I had a place to live, but it wasn't ideal circumstances for me or my child. And heck, for the family who was allowing us to live there, shout out to Tay and Cam for being so kind. Here's the thing that I would say. I look back over pictures in those moments and I still think about a lot of laughter and gratitude and joy happened in that room. I look at pictures and it would be me and Brielle in there, and we were playing a game where I may turn the music on and she's in there dancing and having the time of her life. We would go to the local park and she would play and again have the most fun. I love being outside, so it would bring me a sense of like, it may not be ideal, but we're good. We have what we need, right? And that gratitude was such an anchor during that time. That wasn't an easy transition for me, but gratitude, joy was an anchor, even during the times of, oh my gosh, I need some money. I really need some money right now because my clients, I had moved there, but I had not built up my client load to really start having the finances that I needed, right? And there were moments, right? And I'm not going to pretend again, joy is not about things always being happy or always being like, haha, we're having the best time. But joy is about, whew, we made it. God, I thank you. And so I think about those times sometimes and I get so grateful. Not only did we make it, and I also remember when we moved out and we got our own place and just being so thankful. Again, wasn't what we were accustomed to in Arkansas, but I was just so grateful that we had our own place and we could kind of run and be loud and be, ourselves in our own space. These are moments where you say, I'm choosing joy in the middle of what's not perfect. I'm choosing joy in the middle. I see Demetria on here who, praise God for your testimony. Who in the middle of dealing with health things, I saw her continue to operate with gratitude and joy. Looking, if you see her on social media, she's posting things that's encouraging other people in the middle of a time that she could have said, I feel bad for myself because I'm dealing with some serious health issues and I'm going to just sit back and curl up in a ball and and feel bad for myself. She was still encouraging people. She was still sharing the good news of Jesus. She was still being a light, smiling, and doing all of these things. That is what we're talking about. There is something really powerful, and it actually heals us mentally. And it can even switch things in our bodies when we say, I'm not going to go out with this negative mindset. So I encourage you all, in the middle of whatever you're going through, remember that you can choose joy. Say that joy is a choice. Joy is a choice. And so I encourage you to let joy live. Give yourself permission to have fun. Give yourself permission to play and to do all those things. Give yourself permission to do that. And I'm telling you, it can make a world of difference if you would just give yourself the right to say, I'm going to have joy no matter what. So I hope this helped. I hope this was encouraging to everyone. I want to share a couple things I've got going on. You guys already know that I have a subscription called Celebrating You, which I actually talked about the group. It's now a subscription that you can subscribe to. Every day you will get a affirmation that actually helps to shift your mindset, actually helps to give you some empowerment. It is only $1.99 a month. And again, every day you'll get that affirmation to your email. So if you have not registered for that, let me put that banner on the screen. If you can't see this here, it's okay. You can go to the website. My website is tenitria.com and click on the Celebrating You banner. Check out. And that banner is going to take you to the link so you can subscribe. It's going to put you in the subscription. And again, every day you'll get that. Why is that important? Because some days we wake up like my girls did earlier. I was telling you guys, we wake up and we may not have gotten the best sleep, or things may have been on our mind that kept you up or whatever. But that affirmation can help realign your mindset for joy or for peace or for contentment and all of those types of things. So if you have not signed up to be a part of Celebrating You, I strongly, strongly, strongly encourage you to do that. Also, we are nearing the end of this year, which means next year, guess what? We're getting ready for another cohort of the Wholeness Path. So if you are a single woman and you say, okay, I'm ready. I am ready to deal with whatever I've been not dealing with, to see what's holding me back from experiencing beautiful love, or I have some stuff I need to heal from so that I can be prepared when love shows up. I encourage you to reach out to me. I will put you on the waiting list so that when that cohort starts in January, you will be ready. When we release that registration stuff, you will be ready to sign up. It is only $97. And of course, as always, if you are needing coaching, you can give me a call, 470-410-9790. If you need counseling, same number, or you can email me at tenitria@gmail.com. So again, if you're needing counseling or coaching, and if I can't counsel you for whatever reason, I can help you find someone. You can email me or you can give me a call, 470-410-9790. Again, I hope this helped. I'm glad it was right on time for you, Demetria. Joy is a choice. So I encourage you guys to spread some joy today. Share a laugh today, even if that's just a joke that you see online. Share these things. Why? Because the world needs more connection. We need more laughter. We need more joy. And so you can be a part of that. So spread the joy. And I will see you guys back here next Thursday for another episode of Minding My Mental Health. Set your alarms so that you'll remember 12 o'clock on Thursday right here. I'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.
Breaking misconceptions, fallacies, enigmas, building up the people, tearing down stigmas, clothed with a purpose. When life tries to wear on me, pray and read the word, but I still go to therapy. No matter matter your past or what you've been through, this is a space, not judgmental. We got some things to get into. I got my mind in on my meds. No matter your past or what you've been through, this is a space, not judgmental. We got some things to get into. I got my mind in on my mental. Mind in my mental. Mind in my mental. Mind in my mental health.